I've always been deeply fascinated by the sheer variety of ways human beings attempt to make sense of the invisible. The maps we build, the languages we create, and the rituals we return to find our way back home to ourselves. My intention with this series is to bring these different paths out into the light. Not to prove one right, but to look at the beautiful, unique landscapes they offer and to realize that while our maps look completely different, the inward destination is often exactly the same. Today, we're exploring a path shaped by the physics of vibration and sound. My guest today is Aga, someone who found her home in the healing power of sound bowls and meditation. Welcome, Aga. I'm so glad that you're joining me today.
Hello, Sanjana. It's lovely to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm curious to talk to you about how your entire journey took shape. And to get to that, let's start with a little bit about your background. What was it like growing up in Poland? What was your family background, your education? Let's just learn a little bit more about you.
Well, growing up in the late 80s, 90s in Poland was on one hand amazing, and I think that's why many people are kind of longing to go back to those times. And on the other hand, quite hard. So Poland was financially not great off, and there were a lot of times when there was not enough food on the shelves. So we had this like little ration system that we had to introduce. So every household would get like little pieces of paper. We would go to the supermarket and, we would just need to get whatever we were given. So, like, just everything was kind of limited. So on that in that sense it was a bit difficult sometimes. However, I had a great childhood. I loved to be in nature and I spent all the time I could outside. And my parents encouraged that. All the kids played together, and it was a great time to be with all those kids. And all the parents knew everyone was playing together, so we were all safe.
Yeah.
And yeah, and my parents, when it comes to the background like of my parents, they were both working. My mom was a pharmacist and my dad was in the police force, first army, then the police, and then he turned pharmacist as well. So they were working together in the pharmacy. And when I was kind of in high school, end of primary school, I had a lot of time to myself because my parents were working a lot. So it was just me and my brother. And I think so throughout my childhood and until university time, I've been given a lot of time to kind of enjoy my life and to ponder about things, to tune into nature. I loved my childhood. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like a really beautiful way to grow up. I'm glad you had that kind of an environment that your parents created for you. Well, do you think being in nature and just exploring, the raw side of life, did it give you the time and space to think about what's beyond the physical and what's beyond just what meets the eye?
Yes, for sure. I remember I've always been very touched by sound of all sorts. And certain voices of certain people would either make me immediately comfortable and kind of, this feeling of being at home, being connected to the core, to myself. And some people's voices would just repel me immediately. So I always had this connection to sound, to voice, to music as well. I remember when we were small with my brother, we would always dance to like the greatest songs of the 90s. That was like our fun time, playtime together. And I also attended a primary music school. So I graduated after 6 years of the music school. I didn't continue on. I felt I had always a lot of activities. My parents always encouraged that. And, I'm grateful for that. But at the time, I was not happy when I couldn't play outside and I had to practice piano or flute or, do my homework from the English classes. So that was a bit hard in those times of the childhood. But all in all, as I said, I've been given a lot of time and space to tune into myself. I've always been very intuitive. I've collected crystals, all kinds of natural things. So, yeah, that's kind of always been there, that spiritual side of me, if you like.
It's interesting. And given that from, having that kind of a background and childhood and that spiritual bent, but you did choose to explore the sciences and your education took you to a more analytical path. How did that happen?
Mm. So, not blowing my own trumpet, I must say that I've always been good at all the subjects. It was enough that I put my mind to something and I was just good at it. So
Mhm.
at school, it was hard for me to choose one particular interest area to then go on to the university. However, because my parents had their own pharmacy at the time, it was almost like a given that I would go on and study pharmacy to then take over the pharmacy of my parents. And that's why I kind of went towards biology in high school. And then I, in Poland, we have to take tests to get into the university. You are not just judged by grades that you had in high school, you have to take an exam. And I applied for pharmacy and biotechnology. And biotechnology was almost like just in case I didn't get into pharmacy, I would have that kind of a rescue direction. And I passed the exams for both. So I had a choice. And I decided to study biotechnology simply because there was an opportunity to go abroad. And I've always wanted to travel. And that opportunity was to study in Italy. So, based on that, I've chosen to go for biotechnology. And, that kind of helped me to both enjoy biotechnology and other things like traveling and meeting new people and learning about different cultures. And, Italy, just as any other country, has their own sounds, like the bird song has their own like voices as well. When you listen to Italian people, it's many people say it's like they play music. It's like there is a melody throughout their their speech.
Yeah.
So that's definitely something I enjoyed. So it was like I combined the interest in science and the kind of a little bit, let's say, a pressure of studying something that was more, in the biology, chemistry, biochemistry side with my other interests like traveling and sound and experiencing everything in life.
Wow, that's quite interesting that you were able to find that balance and that mix. So, how did that then shape into a career?
So then after Italy, that was a bachelor's degree I got. And after Italy, I went to Germany and I studied biotechnology or something like that there as well at the University of Dresden. And throughout actually all of the studies, we always had an opportunity to choose our own research projects and where to apply for them. So I always made sure that I went to a different country, even if the project was just for 3 months. Um, so that's why I went to all of these places. So, yeah, I finished my master's in Germany and then I applied for a PhD. And I applied for several PhD like positions, and I got the one that I did my PhD in, which was malaria research, and it was done mostly in the Netherlands and some of it in France, with the opportunity to travel as well. So I did that, and then I finished my PhD. My official title is I have a PhD in natural sciences because it was a bit complicated, but it was like a European project, and we got our PhDs from the University of Heidelberg, all of that group. So in Germany, yeah. And then I just continued my postdoctoral research in Glasgow, where my PhD supervisor moved to. So he was in the Netherlands and then he moved to Glasgow, UK, Scotland. And so I just continued with him for a few years. Yeah, and that was kind of like till the end of my scientific career, you can say.
And then you made quite the pivot, I think, from having that kind of, it was a pretty, I'm sure, intensive program and a lot of effort and time that goes into actually pursuing and completing a PhD. And then life took a very different turn. So, how did that happen? Did you have like one moment of awakening, or was it more like a gradual process?
So when I was in Glasgow, actually all throughout the scientific career, probably anyone working in a lab, I was like a typical scientist wearing a lab coat and doing research with the pipettes at the lab bench. But any scientist will tell you that there is also a lot of computer work. So I was spending hours and hours researching about my research. But sometimes, after 12 hours of being in the lab, I was like, okay, let's take a break. So I would go on and just read about different things while waiting sometimes till 10 p.m. in the lab. And one time, I don't remember how exactly, I stumbled upon some information that sound, and in particular the frequency of 5 to 8 hertz, causes or induces DNA repair. And when I started reading about this, it was like a whole world just opened up for me. So if there was any kind of awakening moment when it comes to sound, I always think that we have many awakening moments or many awakenings, but that particular one was about sound. And I remember I was like, "Oh, I just want to know more." um, so then I actually started a meditation class in Glasgow. And shortly after, I invited somebody to play singing bowls. So to do a sound bath for my group in Glasgow. And the moment that man stroked striked the singing bowl, it's like I just knew how to play it. It was like a moment of a complete knowing and remembrance. And yeah, that was the moment that I decided to start playing the singing bowls. And it took me a few years to transition and to, build up the courage to say, I need to leave my research job. I need to leave the science world for a while and then go on to the completely, you might say the opposite, but actually it's not at all the opposite field of spirituality and meditation and sound healing.
It's interesting you say that because that was something that I wanted to explore with you. What kind of similarities do you see between, your work in your older life and the new? I think sometimes, like you said, we try to view, sciences and everything else like meditation and sound bowls and all other modalities of healing as something very opposite, separate, opposite, just different. But is there more of a similarity to all of it than we realize?
Yes, for sure. So I've always felt that everything in my world was connected. I see kind of connections and patterns between everything. So for me, sound healing and lab work are kind of one and the same. It's like, so let me explain a little bit how I explain sound healing works. So I do my best in my life to explain things logically also for myself. So this is definitely that scientific part of me. But then it comes to spirituality and, it's about feeling rather than just learning or knowledge. So when I bring in that logical mind into some of the spiritual subjects, then my mind is able to surrender more. Okay. So, how sound healing works in my head and how I explain it at my sound baths as well. Sound is frequency. So, it is color, it is vibration, and sound is simply the movement of air, of any medium, of gases, of solids, of liquids. And it by moving through the medium, it affects the molecules and the energy in that medium. So for instance, we hear sound because we have eardrums. And this is the eardrums simply picking up the vibration of the molecules in the air that we can hear and recognize sound. Yeah. So sound is vibration, and vibration is energy. And this energy can affect us physically, just like I've just explained. So, because sound is energy, and because we are made of molecules, these physical bodies, and molecules are made of atoms, and atoms are made of smaller particles, so neutrons, electrons, protons, and so on. As we go deeper and deeper and smaller, we still haven't gone to the smallest particle. There is supposedly the God particle, we call it. There are smaller ones. But at the very core, we discover, like with each level, there is more and more energy. So if we just bring it down to make it very simplistic, our bodies at the very core are energy because we are made of these molecules. Yeah, so we know this. So because we are energy physically, and because sound is energy, energy can affect energy. It is one and the same. Okay. So, as I was looking into the microscope, I could literally see parts of. I was working on the malaria parasite. I was literally seeing the physical movement of some parts of the parasites and in the medium. And, if we could just hear every frequency that is out there in the universe, we would perceive that movement as sound because it was particles moving through a medium. So everything in this world vibrates. So sound affects us, and this is how sound healing works because sound is energy and we are energy and everything around us is energy. So it's literally just the same thing affecting the same thing. Yes. Does
Wow,
that
that's
make
quite,
sense?
yeah, that's sort of quite interesting. And to see how everything is essentially the same and interconnected. I think we don't realize how, all of these modalities and methods are so interconnected. Talking about vibrations, so sound bowls are usually referred to, as a sound bowl healing. So every time you see an ad for a sound bowl session, it's called a sound bowl healing session. So how do these vibrations help with healing? And if you can explain healing not just in the physical sense of the body, but also healing at a deeper level, because I'm given to understand that you can heal from a lot of emotional issues and even trauma that the body has stored through these vibrations. How does that work?
So, have you ever heard a piece of music and it just brought you to a time when you heard that piece of music often? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Emotionally, we connect to sound. So, because we connect to sound emotionally, that's how sound can affect our emotions. So, it goes both ways. Yeah. So, the singing bowls and other healing instruments, but not only. I actually, I always say we are our greatest sound healers because I believe that our cells, like each of us, like the cells in our individual bodies, they love the sound of our own voices. So if we can just be more deliberate and more intentional with the sounds that we are using, including self talk, then we would be our greatest healers to ourselves. Yeah. So sound healing basically works with intention. If I just strike a ball, but I don't put any energy, any thought, any moment behind that sound, then it can be healing to somebody or it doesn't have to be. But what I do when I play the singing bowls, when I put my focus and my intention to a particular result, which, in the general form is healing just on every level, then what I'm doing, I'm focusing the energy that then goes through the singing bowls and they amplify that energy and that energy spreads throughout the entire room. Yes, wherever the session is taking place. Mhm. So the like sound healing, as I said, affects our physical bodies. And there are countless people, participants of my sessions and other sessions I know that who say that they came in with a headache and at the end the headache was gone, or they had some physical ailment, often back pain, and either the pain was greatly reduced or was gone completely for that time.
Wow.
And yeah, it's the same with emotions. Emotionally, people feel clearer, feel like they've let go of stuff. Many people cry at sessions because crying is a release. Our cells actually store memories and store emotions in the DNA. So, because we know now that sound can affect our DNA, can affect our cells, then all of these vibrations that are our emotions, because when we think a thought is just electrical impulses going through the brain cells. So, this is all, very natural. It is all very logical how sound healing works. Because, yeah, when a sound hits a cell and there is that particular frequency that resonates with that particular cell, then everything that is not that frequency can be released by the cell. So, those things that are being released can be memories, can be painful moments in life, can be patterns that have been playing out for years, maybe throughout your life. So, there is the mental clarity as well, because the singing bowls, they emit particular vibrations. And sometimes when I play two bowls at the same time, there is that almost like this difference in vibrations causes a particular resonance. And people say, oh my God, I could feel it throughout my whole body. And what it causes, because it affects the ears as well, it causes a change in the waves that are in the brain. And we know that there are different states, so different brains in the different waves in the brain that you can measure. So alpha, beta, delta, gamma. Yes.
Yeah.
Theta, forgot one. So the singing bowls and all the instruments and the voice and any sounds for that matter affect those waves, and certain combinations cause a change from one type of wave to another, which is, for instance, from the types of wave that are emitted in the brain or produced when we are stressed to another type that says to the brain, I'm relaxed. Okay. So that's why people also experience more clarity and a deep relaxation. Yeah. A decrease in anxiety. So that's that mental level. And then we have the energy. So, our bodies emit energy. We have this electromagnetic frequency and field all around us. So, if we truly believe that we have a soul and that soul is energy, then the soul is also affected by the sounds that the physical body hears, because it is all one and the same. It's just different levels at which everything is perceived, different vibrational levels. Yeah. Matter is dense, the soul energy is quite light. Yeah, literally. Yeah.
Wow, that's a beautiful explanation. Thank you. I was always curious about how, I think sometimes you just try to make sense of it logically, and I wanted to try and understand more. So this definitely gives me that perspective. Thank you. Well, What I'd like to understand is, as you've gone through this process, right? You've done a lot of sound bowl healing sessions, you lead certain types of meditation or just a guided practice through this as well. What kinds of breakthroughs have you seen in people? I'm sure there must be all kinds. Are there some that have really stood out that surprised you in a good way?
Mm. Um, a few people came to me, and it's either group sessions or one-to-one sessions. Um, Everyone can experience a breakthrough anytime, any place, basically. It's just sometimes the body is relaxed and the time is right and the energy is right. And it can happen anywhere, like on the street, in the supermarket, or it can happen at a singing bowl session. So it can happen in a group, it can happen in a one-to-one session. And I've had people come to me saying, so a few days after, first of all, I would get like feedback at the session. Sometimes I hear people say, "Oh, that was amazing," or "I'm very relaxed," but these are just surface words. I know there is so much happening under the surface, but as I was saying, like physical ailments are one of the things that are really affected, like positively. But the second layer is that people start seeing that they behave differently towards their loved ones. So I work with the ancestral lines as well. So that is very much present at my sessions, like working with the ancestors. And I got a few emails a few days after a sound bath or the session. And this one lady in particular, she was saying that what she was experiencing with her mom for many, many years just suddenly shifted. It was, yeah, it was as if something happened by magic. But I know this is not magic. I know this is just energy healing. This is just the change, the shift in energy. So that was probably one of the strongest kind of experiences post session. There are also events that I guide that I only do chanting. And actually, in the most recent one, I had one of my students actually joined. So we just chant online, just on Zoom. And he joined just one session. And I always ask for the intention for the chanting. And one lady said she wanted to chant for abundance. And I know that he was experiencing some issues in that area as well at the time. So we chanted, and it was 15 minutes. And a few days later, I got a message from him saying that he got contacted by a friend who is starting a business, and he wanted him to be a part of that business. And it is a huge opportunity. I know also from my own life that when I chant, depending on the intention, all kinds of things shift, including abundance, including financial matters. Yeah. I got a tax return once, and I never in my life got a tax return. It was a shock, and it was quite a bit of money that I didn't have and that I wanted to have, and I just manifested it just by shifting my frequency through chanting and using the instruments.
So the instruments definitely seem to be more of a medium that we can tap into to actually find that outcome. But everything that you're saying, the takeaway for me is the power lies within us. And if we tune into that and really harness that power through an intention, through an affirmation, then I think these modalities or the mediums can really help just put us on a fast track to achieve our goals.
Yeah, that's right. It's, you know, in one of the books that is, for me, one of the greatest books written, it's the autobiography of a yogi by Paramahansa Yogananda. Maybe you know. Yeah.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, he mentions, just paraphrasing, to take every shortcut that you can take in order to advance spiritually. So for me, everything that we do in life with pure intention is basically that shortcut. And singing bowls and sound healing is definitely kind of one of the shortcut paths. So for me, it actually doesn't matter if I do the singing bowls, if I chant, if, you know, if I myself go to a Reiki session or to receive a massage, if my intention is clear in my mind and in my heart, then I find that I can transmute, change anything in my life. And I find that I go to my destination. Let's say I want to change something in particular. I go there much faster with sound. And that is definitely kind of my shortcut, you can say, my medium.
Yeah.
But there are many
Yeah.
shortcuts, many ways
Yeah,
to a
for sure.
destination.
There's so many modalities to the destination, and the destination's most times the same for every human being. I think the flavors are a little different, but I
Mm.
also like how you talked about keeping the intention right in your heart and your brain. I think most times that's where we get tripped up. We probably truly want something, we desire something with the heart, but the brain comes in to give its own logic and give you all the reasons as to why that's not the right way forward. And we get stuck in this conflict almost between the two. So, coming to that point of heart and brain coherence, I think, is very important to truly know what we want.
You know, we know that the mind is a powerful thing. Yes.
Mhm.
But many people just think of things and they do them and they succeed. It's like, you know, you first have to think it, feel it, and think it. Um, so if we can combine the two together, this is my suggestion for the next sound bath or any kind of experience like a group session or one-to-one session that you go to. I mean you, Sanjana, but also anyone listening.
Yeah.
Set an intention to have the mind connected to the heart and that the two work together in unison. And you will see a huge shift when it comes to achieving whatever you're setting, at the time, whatever goal. This heart mind connection is probably the most important connection and the biggest relationship we as humans could tend to, because this is where everything starts and everything ends, at least to me. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, as you've been on this path, Aga, it's been a while, and like you've said, you've explored different mediums and found what truly works for you. But not just working with yourself, as you worked with people, and this journey has become larger for you. What's the one thing that you've learned about yourself? Has there been a self discovery for you through this process?
Through this process, working through sound and all my life, you mean, in general?
Well, I would say mostly with sound. How has this
Yes.
changed things for you?
I feel like starting this work with sound has definitely helped me define who I am. As in, I love the sound of my own voice, but I don't know that it's always been that way. Like, especially throughout the scientific career, I think I really kind of silenced it because I felt like the two can't work together. Energy and science, not the same thing. So when I started working with sound full time and meditation and going into the spiritual field, this was my probably one of my biggest realizations that everything is connected, everything is one, and also that sound helps me. And I've seen it with many, many people, especially when it comes to chanting, because they can hear their own voice. That sound is one of the keys to yourself. So I have connected more to myself. And when I chant, I feel almost like the chant, the sound is like a key, and it just keeps unlocking different layers in me. And I know that there is no end to this. I love that there is always expansion happening. And the more I work with sound, the more I discover that there is to do with sound, but also the more I connect to myself.
That's
Yeah.
wonderful. Yeah, talking about expansion, your platform is called Expanding Consciousness. How did that come to be? What was the idea behind it? And can you share the goal and the work that you aim to do through that medium?
Um, I was still working in the lab at the time, and I just knew it in all of my being that I needed to start this meditation group. And I started it on Meetup, and I was talking to myself or my soul, my higher I am, give me a name. And literally that name just dropped. Expanding
Wow.
consciousness. I was like, okay, so it is that. And then, I started the website, and yeah, my work just expanded, not only like from meditation classes, but then the sound healing, and now also the ancestral lines healing. So I'm really interested in the patterns that we play out throughout our lives, and which of these patterns we are to resolve being in a particular family, and which are not ours, and we are not to look at them, or well, basically take care of them. So these are basically the three lines of work that I do: the sound healing, the meditation, and the ancestral lines. And yeah, I do sessions that are group sessions, and I'm willing to travel all around the world for them. Um,
Yeah.
but I do most of my work online right now, as in
Mhm.
one-to-one sessions, mostly. And basically, this is like spiritual life coaching. I call all of it together, like spiritual life coaching, just returning to yourself, to your true self.
That's amazing. I'm really happy that you're doing work that resonates with you, and it definitely seems like such a big passion. And it comes through because I've attended a sound bowl healing with you, and it was an absolutely beautiful experience. I see your passion, and it comes through even through that short, I think it was a 20 or 30-minute session that we did back at the resort in Scotland. But your intention and the way you guide a session is really beautiful. And I definitely felt that connection. You know, it created a very safe and comfortable place for me to just tune into myself. And that was my first experience actually with sound healing. And I'm now more than interested to try more. And I keep looking out to see if there's something happening in my area that, I can go and be a part of. So thank you for introducing me to this world. And it's something that's definitely going to stay with me.
Yes, and you mentioned that you went with your mom as well.
Yes, so that was a Mother's Day special. There was a sound bowl healing happening actually at the Pilates studio that I used to go to, and that was really beautiful as well. Yeah, it was a great setting, and it was just evening time and, just lights and candles and sound. And I think you come out of that just almost like in a trance, and it's just a beautiful reset. If nothing else, at the end of the week, it's a nice way to just shift the energy, calm yourself down and come back to yourself.
You see, you are a testimonial to sound healing yourself, Sanjana.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm so fortunate to have been able to experience it. Well, Agatha, this was a great chat. Thank you for coming on the show and willing to share your story and the work that you're doing. And it's so in line with the theme for this session, which is many paths, one journey. I think all of us are curious, and as humans, we're just naturally trying to look for something more. And I hope for those listening today, you find your own path, whether that's leaning into a spiritual text, whether it's sitting under a tree and just basking in the glow of nature, or whether it's the resonance of a sound bowl. Whatever be your path, I hope you find a way to truly connect back with yourself. Until next time, keep thinking inwardly.